So greetings, my name is Sam Diter with Epic Games, and this is Making Games with UE4 and Action RPG. So in today's session, what we're going to be first covering about is the 5 W's of Action RPG. This is going to go over what Action RPG is, why it was developed, who made it, where you can get it, so on. Then we're going to talk about the gameplay ability system, because at the core of Action RPG is the gameplay ability system that's used in all of Epic's games. Then we're going to talk about creating a new potion, because this will show us all of the components that are required to create an ability for the ability system. Then we'll talk a little bit about mixing both C++ and blueprints together in the same project. And finally, we'll wrap up with live coding with Live++. So, what is Action RPG? Well, I could sit here and talk about it, but might as well just show you by clicking play on the editor over here. We'll give this just a second. I'm going to hit F11 to go into full screen. And this is Action RPG, so you can see I can change my weapons. I have some skills that I can use, like a fireball. Here, let's see if I can, go back to my other sword. I'm going to roll. I also have a full inventory here where I can purchase new items. I can purchase different potions. You can see I have stackable content. I can also make a full round trip. So this is actually the main menu. And then I can click here and start the game, and it'll pop me right back in. So Action RPG is a third-person hack-and-slash mobile game and sample project, and it was built to show you the epic way of how to use UE4 to make video games. It's also currently available for both PC, Android, iOS, HTML5, and Mac. So why was Action RPG made? Well, it was made to show best practices for UE4 development. We get asked a lot of times, how do you do things at Epic? How should I set this up? How would you go about setting this up? And since we can't share, the Fortnite source with you, this is the next best thing. The sample was built to show you how you should be setting up all of your UE4 projects. Another question we get asked a lot is, how do you mix both C++ and blueprints together in the same project? What should be blueprintable? What should be left in C++? How do I do this? What should I be doing? And again, Action RPG serves as a great example of how to do this. Many of the abilities or effects that you're seeing in Action RPG are comprised of blueprintable nodes that we had somebody set up for us in C++, and then it allowed us, when we were developing this project, to not have to keep bugging the engineers to have them change things or add things for us. It also serves as our first example of how to use Epic's gameplay ability system. And this is the same gameplay ability system that's used in all of Epic's games in some way, shape, or form. Finally, over the last year, we have done a lot of improvements to our multi-platform development. Action RPG, as it stands right now, can be published to Windows, Android, iOS, HTML5, and Mac. And when I say published, to publish it, all you have to do is come up here, file, package your project, select the platform you wish to export for, and then go have a coffee. And then that's it. You come back and do it again for the next one. It's literally that simple. When was Action RPG released? It was originally released in July of 2018 with the 420 version of UE4, and it's actually since been updated for the 421 version of UE4 in November of 2018. Now, we did fix more than just 2 items. These are 2 of the more notable items. We made the AI a little more interactive, made it move at varying rates, so it didn't just kind of all look like the exact same animation. We also had some really severe scaling issues for the Pixel XL series and the iPhone X, so we fixed that. In 422, which will be coming in March of 2019, we have new item pickups. We have new platform-specific UI. For example, if I come over here and press play, the UI that you see right down here on my screen is actually going to be different depending on if you're playing on a mobile device or if you're playing on, say, the PC. And again, tons of things change every single update. These are just a few of the things that I thought were the coolest. So, who developed Action RPG? Well, Action RPG was originally developed as a prototype by some of our technical artists at our Epic Games South Korean studio. It was then picked up and worked on by both the Learning Resources team, the Evangelist team, and the Gameplay and Scripting team to bring it to the sample you're seeing today. But those aren't the only people that have worked on Action RPG. Many different people from many different disciplines across Epic have helped out with the development in this game, whether it's making sure that we're doing things the Epic way or helping us solve some type of problem that we didn't really understand how to fix. So, where can I find Action RPG? You can actually download the project, which you see over here on this screen, in its entirety from the Marketplace tab of the Epic Games launcher. If you just want to check it out right now, you can actually download the completed game from both the Android and iOS stores on your smartphone. So, now that we've talked a little bit about what Action RPG is, where you can get it, and why it was developed, let's talk a little bit about what the game playability system is. So, the game playability system, at a high level, it's just a very flexible framework for building very simple or very robust abilities. It was developed in-house by the gameplay programmers at Epic, and it's designed to be extended to meet the needs of many different types of games. And again, this is the exact same ability system that we use in all of our games. Fortnite uses this. Not the exact same system, but it uses the framework that the system has to develop all of the abilities that you see in there. So, while the gameplay ability system does sound amazing, and that's because it is, there are a few things that you need to be aware of before you can use it. First off, it actually needs to be set up. And what I mean by that is there are a series of things called base attributes. Now, base attribute can be something such as mana, or health, or attack speed, or attack damage. These base attributes need to be set up in C++ before artists and designers can actually utilize them. Once these are set up, the artists and designers for your project can then tweak these base attributes using blueprints to pass the data back and forth. And this is exactly how abilities are made on games like Fortnite. Engineers will set up the base abilities, so they'll set up how much damage you can have, how much shield you can have, how high you can jump. Then designers and artists will then use blueprints, Cascade/Niagara, to modify and tweak these effects to give you the games that you play today. And the cool thing is they don't have to go back to the engineer to get any additional help. Everything that they need to do is already set up inside of the ability system. So, this right here is a breakdown of the ability that you would find in the ability system. So first, in the yellow right here, we have the RPG item type. This acts as a container for the entire ability. This is basically, think of this as a box that I throw everything that's related into this ability into this box. The other thing that this does is the RPG item type defines the UI visuals, the item cost, and the granted ability. If I come over here and hit play again real quick, and I hit tab, I'll click on this weapon, you see the cleaver and edge of death right here. The RPG item type is gonna set that. It's also going to set the cost. See, this costs 100 souls right there. Next, we have the gameplay ability here in green. The gameplay ability can be thought of as the visuals. This controls the timing, and we'll go into this once we duplicate an effect to make one, but this is what makes your effect pretty. You know, when the player goes to swing, say, their hammer on the ground, and you see a big explosion happen, or you see the earth look like it's shattered, this is where you're gonna trigger that effect. Finally, over here in blue, we have the gameplay effect. This is where actually the entire thing takes place. This is what actually does the damage. Without this part, it would just be pretty visuals on the screen. Here in the gameplay effect, you affect attributes. And remember, attributes are those things that need to be set up in C++, and they're things like damage, health, and mana. And the values for these attributes are read in through a data table, and this is just a really easy way to modify the damage across a wide variety of different skills, and we'll go into that in a little bit when we make an ability. So, with the breakdown of the ability system out of the way, let's talk about creating a new potion. So this is actually pretty simple. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be just duplicating some existing assets. We're going to add a new attribute to affect the mana, because we're going to duplicate the health asset. Then we're going to change the icon, description, and cost. And again, this requires no blueprint or C++ knowledge to do. If you've ever opened up Unreal, maybe you've made a new material, maybe you've duplicated a couple assets, this is exactly what we're going to be doing. And this little bit of the talk can actually be applied to creating weapons and potions. So there's actually a lot that you can do with just these few simple steps. So before we go into it, the potion is going to be made up of 3 items. We're going to have a gameplay effect, a gameplay ability, and an RPG item type. So right now what we're going to do is, before when I was talking about the ability, I talked about the RPG item type, which started at the top. Now I'm going to start down at the bottom by creating the gameplay effect, because without the gameplay effect, it's just going to be pretty pictures on the screen. So I'm going to come over here to my content browser, and I'm going to search for potion, and then I'm going to look for my GE potion health and just hit Control-B. I'm going to right-click on it and duplicate, and we're going to call this guy, whoops, I'm going to hit F2 to redo that really quick. And we will call this GDC Potion Health, and I'm going to double-click on it to open it up and pull it over here on this monitor. All right, so let's break this down. First off,
Action RPG only utilizes things that are up here in the gameplay effect, while these other categories do work, just haven't made any abilities that need to utilize these properties just yet. Right up here, our duration policy. It's going to default to instant, but you see we have instant, infinite, and has duration. This is just basically what's going to happen when I do this. So for us, we're going to keep this on instant because as soon as I pop my health potion, I want to instantly affect my player's stats. But say I wanted to do something like a dot or a damage over time. I could set this down here to has duration and then say over the next 5 seconds, I want to affect the player's health and mana, but that's not what I want to do for this one. I want to have this instant. Next here under the modifiers, so the modifiers are where you're going to be modifying your base attributes. Now remember when I said the base attributes need to be set up in C++, this is what I'm talking about right here. These are all the base attributes that you can adjust inside of Action RPG. So you see we have set health, set mana, attack power, defense power, and so on. So what we're doing here is we're going to add, so you have add, multiply, divide, override, and invalid. So basically what I want to do is I want to take my player's current health and then add whatever I currently have set for the values of my health potion to what my player currently has. Over here on this modifier magnitude right here, this is just a scalar value, and this will make sense in just a second. But basically what I'm doing is when I pop this health potion, I'm actually attacking myself for 600 damage. Now that might seem a little bit weird, but let me explain why. First off, let's look at this curve table. So the curve table that we have here, basically we have a default and a medium and a heavy attack. Now this was actually made in Google Sheets and downloaded as a CSV file. And the reason that I did this is because this is a great way for me to quickly be able to adjust damage at various levels without having to actually adjust damage for every single one of the weapons or actors inside of my game. What I can do here is basically, you see this number 600? Well, the ability system doesn't care that I'm doing heavy attack damage to myself. All it cares about is this number 600. Right, so I could modify this number here. If I set this to 5,000, I end up doing 1.5 million damage to myself. If I set it to, 0.001, I end up doing 0.30 damage to my health. So it doesn't really matter that it's attack damage. All the ability system cares about is this number right here. So I'm going to set this back to 2. So basically, I'm going to be applying 600 health points to myself. So, like I said, I wanted this potion to affect both my health and my mana, so let's set up the mana part right now. I'm going to come over here to my modifiers and press the plus button. This is going to add another element to my array. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to my attribute. We're going to say, set mana. We're going to leave our modifier OP as add because we want to add to it. I'm going to set our scalable float to a value of 2. We're going to select our attack damage curve table and then set it to heavy attack so that we get 600 points applied. And we'll just verify that that is what we're doing up here. So 600, 600, that's perfect. We're going to compile and save, and we are done with that one. So next we're going to work on our gameplay ability. Now remember, this controls the visuals. So what sound effect, what particle effect that I'm going to play. And it also is used with animation montages. So I'm going to come here to my GA potion health, right click, duplicate. And we will call this GDC, potion health, and then I will double click to open it up. And again, in here, the only thing that you're really going to be worried about is the animation montage and the gameplay effects. But before we go into the effects, I want to open up the montage really quick. So I'm going to hit spacebar on my keyboard to stop this playing and scroll down. And if you see this use item notify, basically what this is doing, it says, in this montage, when the montage reaches this point, I want you to apply an effect. And what I want you to do is I want you to actually apply whatever target gameplay effect class is inserted right here. Basically, when I hit this point, I want you to apply both 600 mana and 600 health points, right? I want to use my potion. So here what we're going to do is we're just going to type in GDC. We're going to take our GDC health potion, hit compile, and save. Now, it's literally that simple. I'm just moving a couple assets around. All right. So now we need to make our RPG potion item, which is the data asset, and it's used to tie everything together. This is where we're going to set the UI, the visuals, the cost, and things like that. So I'm going to come over here to my content browser. I'm going to type in the word potion, and I'm going to look for our potion underscore health and just hit Control B to find it in the content browser. I'm going to right-click, duplicate, and we will call this our GDC or potion GDC health, and I'll double click on it to open it up. Over here in our item type, I'm going to leave this to potion, but say we were making a weapon, we'd actually want to set this to weapon or skill, depending on what type of item. This is just going to let our inventory system know how to actually treat this item. Next, over here is the item name. This is what's going to show up actually in the UI. So we'll just call this GDC Mega Potion. All right, and then we'll say recovers 100% HP and mana. Over here in our item icon, I'm just going to change this. Let's see, go to this icon right here, so it just stands out a little easier when I go to show it to you in the UI a little later. One thing that I want to note, next I'm going to set the price. I'm just going to set this to 50 souls, just to make it a little more expensive. Max count, this is actually kind of cool. So normally in any type of game, you might want to limit the amount of items a player can have. You know, maybe you only want them to have one of these items, or maybe they can only have 20, or maybe they can have infinite. Well, what this max count does is this actually allows you to set that. If I set this to 5, that means at any one time, the player can only have 5 of these items in their inventory. If they picked up an additional one, it just wouldn't go anywhere. They wouldn't be able to do anything with it. They can only have 5. But since I don't really want to limit the player in that way, I'm going to leave this at 0, which means they can have as many as they want. And again, this is a built-in functionality of the game playability system. This is why this system is so robust. I can just simply edit some data to limit how many my player can have. Instead of having to go into a blueprint, develop some logic, make sure that logic doesn't conflict with anything else in the blueprint or introduce any bugs or something like that. The next thing that I want to do is under my granted ability here, I just want to search for my GDC Potion Health and click save. And now what I'm going to do is, this is what the UI should look like when we pop into game. So let's go ahead, pop into game. I'm going to hit F11. I'll hit tab. I'll come over here to my potions and we can see my GDC Mega Potion. I'm going to grab 2 of those guys, hit confirm, hit back to go into the game, fire off a couple fireballs. Make sure you take a look here at my mana and my health. I'll let one of these guys beat up on me a little bit and do a little bit of damage to me. All right. All right, so now I'm going to hit R, so watch my mana and my health, and we'll see it go right back up to 100%. So let's do that one more time for just so everybody can have a look at it. And let this guy hit me a little more. All right, and then I'm going to hit it one more time, and you can see both my mana and my health have gone back up to 100%. So now, let's say that you've made a bunch of weapons, you've made a bunch of potions. Now you want to try to mix a little bit of blueprints together with some C++, but you don't really know where to go. Maybe you're not really sure how to start. Well, Action RPG provides a great example of how to do this. Many of the things that we are doing in Action RPG with our character, with our potions, actually have some blueprintable actions inside of them. For example, there is a potion pickup here, and right here, I'm going to double click to open it up. Now this looks a little bit more complex than what I have on my screen here, but basically this node, this guy, this guy, let's see, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Basically all these nodes that I just selected are the nodes that are highlighted over here in blue. These are all nodes that are standard to UE4. If you download UE420, 422, 423, you're going to find all of these nodes. What you're not going to find, though, are these nodes that are highlighted in orange. Add item inventory, set slotted item, make RPG item slot. These are custom to Action RPG. Now, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because if I was to come in here into my event graph and right-click and type in inventory, you can see I don't actually have any inventory stuff besides this, which is actually just an event. This is a custom event that's called inventory. I don't actually have any RPG inventory items. If I uncheck context sensitivity, let's see here, and right down here you can see I have my add default inventory, add inventory item, fill empty slots, all of the nodes that are unique to Action RPG. So once you start to dive into mixing blueprints in C++, make sure you disable context sensitivity so you can actually find the nodes that you're looking for. Or if you're happening to be jumping around one of these blueprints and you can't find it, like this set slotted item node, that's how you're going to be able to find this information. So let's say for next you've made a bunch of blueprints. You're like, you know what? I really want to know how they make something blueprintable. You started to wonder a little bit about C++. Well, Action RPG can actually help you with that. Due to the size of Unreal, it can be a daunting task to actually go through all of the many source files to figure out which property you're looking at, where it is, and how it was made blueprintable. That's because it could actually be 7 files that you need to go deep in order to find the property that you're looking for. Since Action RPG is such a small slice of a game, it's very easy to see where the properties were developed in their CPP files, because it's usually a one-to-one. You'll see one CPP file, and you'll be able to find that property. For example, in our potion data asset, so I'm going to just type in the word potion here again, and double-click our potion GDC health. So let's say we're looking at this item, and for whatever reason, say you decided that you want to add something in between item name. You want to call this item Uber name or something like that. Well, this is how Action RPG can help you. So this is actually the header file and the CPP file for this Action RPG item. And here, this is literally the entire file. There is nothing more than this for the header file, and all that is doing is actually setting up this little drop-down right here. The CPP file is actually a little bit bigger, but the property that we have highlighted right here, this U property, edit anywhere, blueprint, read-only, category equals item, ftext equals name, that might sound like a little bit of gibberish to a lot of people in the crowd. All that is literally doing is defining this property right here, the ability, to put in something here. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I could come in here and maybe just go, maybe comment this property out by doing a // recompile, and then item name will disappear. This is a great way for me to figure out how I can actually make something blueprintable inside of C++ if you weren't sure about it. And again, I only had to open up one file. I didn't have to open up a file and then realize I had to open up an additional dependency file and then keep going down the chain until I found it. And that's, again, because Action RPG is such a small project. All right, so let's say you want to take this one step further and you want to experiment a little bit with C++, but you are tired of, you're doing it on your laptop, compile time's taking 20, 30 minutes just for you to change one line. Well, Live++ from Molecular Matters can help you with that. With Live++, you can actually recompile all of your C++ code without actually having to close the UE4 editor. This means that you can make very rapid changes to your code, see what those changes are, comment stuff, add new stuff, again, all without having to close the editor down. And Live++ is actually a little more reliable and scalable than our legacy hot load resystem. This means that you can use it on very small projects or extraordinarily massive projects. To activate the Live++, you just need to come here to compile, and then under General, just click on Enable Live Coding. So, how would I use Live++? So let's take a look at this example. Let's say you're doing something and your mana bar right here, it's not clamping, right? It's not going all the way to 0. So we know where this is. We know it's in the RPG attribute set CPP file. This is actually the call for the mana right here. But we know of a fix, but again, compile time might take us 20 minutes to get back because we got to compile the entire engine. We don't have the time to do that. Well, Live++ can help us with that. All I did now is I just input this command right here. I hit Control-Alt-F11 to recompile, and it took about 6 seconds for me to be able to jump back into the editor. I think it took me 14 seconds to actually get back into the game so I could take this image right here. But you can see I went back in, I have this, now my mana is clamped. Now, say that didn't work, right? It'd be super simple for me to just comment this out, recompile, and try something else. So, before you think that Live++ is the answer to all of your prayers, there are a few things that you need to be aware of. First off, you cannot add a U property to a blueprint or comment out a U property. This will require a full engine recompile. You also can't change the information inside of a header file. You can only make changes inside of your CPP files, and currently it's only supported for Windows. So, in case I went a little too fast for you today, or you'd like some more in-depth information about the ability system, how to set it up, and how to use it, everything that I've talked about today and more is actually documented on the Action RPG documentation pages. Make sure you take note of the following link, or if you just want to Google search it, all you got to do is type in UE4 Action RPG documentation, and I'll take you to this landing page right here. On this page, you will find information about how to set it up for your project, and also a breakdown of what every single thing inside the ability system that we utilize in Action RPG does. We also have a bunch of tutorials that go over things like adding a pickup, adding a new potion, which I covered today, creating a new weapon. And this will be updated as new things come out, because we update this with every release of UE4. So really quick, before I let you out of here, I just want to recap what we talked about today. So first, we started off with the 5 W's of Action RPG, what it is, who made it, why it was developed. We then talked a little bit about the game playability system, what it is, what it does, and how Action RPG utilizes it. We then went over creating a new potion, which shows us all of the 3 components that are needed for ability. Finally, we talked a little bit about mixing both C++ and blueprints, and how you can use Action RPG to serve as a guide to see how you should be doing that in your UE4 projects. And finally, we finished up with a little bit of live coding with Live++. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks everybody for coming. I'll be over here if you have any questions, and enjoy the rest of your GDC.